Hello everyone, I'm Frank and welcome to Frank Puzzles, and this is today's hard level puzzle, and it's called Lost Village by ProxZ14. And here are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, which means fill every row, column, and box with the digits 1 through 9 without repeats. We also have crop key, where digits separated by a white dot must be consecutive. So for example, if this were, say, a 5, this would have to be 4 or 6 to make sure that these two digits are consecutive. And we have the white dot crop key dot rule. Also, we have ambiguous cages. There are 4 types of cages in this puzzle, all of which appear at least once. So at least once. They don't have to be, there doesn't have to be one of each type, but there has to be at least one of each. So there's, yeah, there could be more than 4, essentially. But there's at least one representation for each cage somewhere in the puzzle. Except there, okay. So digits in the cage, regardless of its type, can't repeat. So that's typical killer cage Sudoku rules. But we have different types of cages. One cage is the killer cage, where digits in a killer cage sum to the value given in the top left corner. And there is only one killer cage on the grid. So actually you can sort of tell these are not the killer cages. Because there's no way that 4 digits can actually add up to 31. And there's no way 4 digits can add up to 8. So those cannot be killer cages. There's also suspect cages, where the sum of the digits in a suspect cage must be 1 away from the value given in the top left corner. So that means, for example, this could be a suspect cage here, because the sum of the digits could be 1 away from the value given in the top left corner. And you could have a 6, 7, 8, 9 here, which adds up to 30. And 30 is 1 away from 31. So that could be a suspect cage here. This, however, cannot be, but it could be the next type of cage, which is a framed cage. The sum of the digits in a framed cage must be 2 away from the value given in the top left corner. So this could be 1, 2, 3, 4 if this were a framed cage. Innocent cages. The sum of the digits in an innocent cage must be at least 10 away from the value given in the top left corner. So either of these could be innocent cages, right? If the value of these 4 digits added to 18 or more, then this could be an innocent cage. If this added to 21 or less, this could also be an innocent cage. Okay. The grid is covered by fog. Placing correct digits will gradually uncover the rest of the grid. Guessing is not required at any point in the puzzle. So basically, this is not typical fog of war puzzle, but it is the new sort of variant that's, I think, basically, I don't know if the Sudoku pad maker made this recently. Fairly recently, I feel. Where basically, instead of getting a digit correct, uncovered the cell and all the 8 surrounding cells around it from the fog. Now he allows it so that it triggers, essentially, a fog clearing somewhere in the grid. So basically, this seems to be that variant here. The fog will never uncover 2 cages of the same type at once, including the starting cages. Aha! Cages that were fully unlocked at the same stage have the same color on their edges, and the given value on top values on top left corners, cages that were fully unlocked on the same stages have the same color on their edges and the given values on top left corner to help with tracking. So I think these are both red, but I don't know what the given value on the top left corner to help with their tracking. I'm not sure I understand that. But basically, every time the fog, excuse me, every time the fog uncovers, it will uncover essentially, it will never uncover two cages of the same type at once. So these two cages are not the same type. And the cages that were fully unlocked at the same stages have the same colors on their edges. So if they can, I guess they can be partially unlocked, and if it's not fully unlocked, it's not considered part of that cage. I don't know, that's kind of weird. I'm not sure I understand that part of the rule set. So basically, you could not have both of these, for example, be this killer cages. You could also not have both of these be frame cages or suspect cages or innocent cages. They both have to be different types of cages here. So it could be a combination of killer cage with suspect cage, killer cage with frame cage, killer cage with innocent cage, suspect cage with frame cage, suspect cage with innocent cage, or frame cage with innocent cage. Those are the possible combinations there. Okay. And again, so you cannot, the fog will never uncover two cages of the same type at once, including the starting one. So these cannot be the same type. Okay, and those are all the rules. If you'd like to play along, there's going to be a link in the description. And now, I'm going to get started. Let's go. Okay, so, as I said before in the introduction, these cannot be killer cages because this doesn't, you can never have 4 unique digits add up to 31. The most is 30. And you can never have 4 unique digits add up to 8. The least is 10. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, 7, 8, 9 are respectively the least and the most you can have. So neither of them can be killer cages. They both actually could be innocent cages. But the problem with that is if this is an innocent cage, this would have to be a suspect cage or frame cage. Even if it's a frame cage where the value is 29, this value would have to be at least 18. And 29 plus 18 is 47, I believe. 29 plus 18 is 47, yes. So that's already more than the value that this box can actually take, right? Because the box adds up to 45 because it's the digits 1 through 9. So therefore, this 8 can never be an innocent cage. Well, it can't be an innocent cage and it can't be a suspect cage. So it must be a frame cage. So this has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Because we tried to have this as an innocent cage, but then this must add up to at least 18. This is even at its smallest, a 29, if this is an innocent cage, because this cannot be an innocent cage, right? So then, if that's the case, this would then, again, this would be 18, this would be 29 at the least. This is 18 at the least, and this is 29 at the least, so that's 47, which is not possible. So 8 can never be an innocent cage. 8 must be a framed cage. So I guess we'll color that. Framed will be, the killer we're going to color red. The framed innocent cage we're gonna color blue. Actually, innocent we're gonna color green. The framed we're gonna color yellow, and the suspect we're gonna color orange. So this cannot be innocent. It cannot be suspect. It can't be a killer cage. It has to be a framed cage. So we're going to color that yellow. So this is a frame cage, which means this is the digits 1 through 4. Well, this cannot be a frame cage. Can it ever be an innocent cage? It can't be the killer cage because it doesn't add up to 30, and so it doesn't add up to the exact number. It's not the innocent. It's not a frame cage because we already have a frame cage in that was revealed at the same stage. What about innocent cage? Can it be innocent cage? Well, it would have to be 20, add up to 21 if it were innocent cage. This only adds up to 10. Actually, in fact, it specifically adds up to 10. So this must be 21 plus 10, which would be 31. But the problem is then you would have one digit which adds up to 14, which is not allowed. So this cannot be an innocent cage. It has to be a suspect cage. And I think we labeled that orange. So this must be a suspect cage, which means it is the digits 6 through 9. And this must be a 5. Okay, so these two are in the same stage. And they both are supposedly 22. Can either of these be innocent cages? Well, they could be killer cages, so that's possible. Can they be like a suspect in a frame cage is the question, right? If you have, or just any combination of killer with suspect or framed. So if you have framed and suspect together, that would be 3 away. So you have 22 plus 22, that's 44. And then you would have 3 away from that, which you could drop to essentially, if you have 3 away, you have 22. Plus 22, so that's 44. Plus these 3 would be essentially at minimum 6. That would be 50. But that's not 3 away from 45, which is the total in the row. So one of these cannot be suspect and framed. It cannot be killer and suspect. It cannot be killer and framed. Therefore, one of them must be innocent. And if one of them's innocent, that means it's 12. This can be, therefore, what's this at most then, right? We need this at most. Because if you have 12 at minimum, I think if you have the minimum here, 6, that doesn't work. 12 plus 6 is 18. 45 minus 18 is 27. So no, that's not possible. If you have 12 plus 9 is 21. So I think it's guaranteed to be 2, 3, and 4 then, right? It has to be 12 plus 9, because then that adds up to 21, and then the remaining 3 digits can add up to 24. So one of these is an innocent cage, and the other one is a frame cage, but we're not sure which. So this cannot be 1 here. That means this is a 2, 3, 4 triplet, because we need the 2, 3, and 4. Then we need the maximum value possible. So this is a 1. So one of these is a innocent, and the other one is a framed, because it has to be 2 away with 24. Okay. This is 18, so obviously this is not a killer. What else could it be? So we have 18 here and 9 here. Well, this can't be a killer cage either because it would require 2, 3, and 4 because it can't have a 1. So this cannot be a killer cage. This cannot be a killer cage. Can it be like a suspect cage or a frame cage? Well, innocent cages seems fine. If this is an innocent cage, it would have to be 8 at most. And this would be 11 at most if it's a frame cage, because obviously this can't be an innocent cage if this is an innocent cage. So say this was an innocent cage, that means this would be 8, which would force us to be 8 or less. So this would be 8 or less. This would be 11 at most. So 8 plus 11 is 19. So yeah, sorry, this would be 8 at most. This would be 11 at most. So 8 plus 11 is 19. Plus 1 is 20. Plus 5 is 25. Plus 4 at most is 29. Which means this can never be, that would be, so again, 8 plus 11 is 19, plus 1 plus 5 plus 4 is 29. So this digit would have to be 45 minus 29, which is 16, which is not allowed. So this cannot be innocent. It's either a suspect or a framed. Either way, if it's a suspect, it must be 8 and 9 to add up to 17. If it's a frame cage, it must be 7 and 9 to add up to 16, right? Because it's either 1 away or 2 away. So either way, the 9 has to be here. Can this be... Actually, can this... What can this be? If it's a framed cage... That would mean it's 2 away, so then it cannot be 1 away. Because if it's 1 away, it would have to add up to 10. And without a 1 or a 5, there's no way to add up to 10 without getting 2, 3, or 4. Right, you need either 2, 3, 5, 1, and the other ones that add up to 10 for 3 digits must be 1, 2, 7, 1, 3, 6, and 1, 4, 5, which all require a 1. So this could never be a suspect cage. It can't be a frame cage either because 11 actually it could be a frame cage. So it could be 2, 3, 6. It could be 2, 3, 6. This would be 4. Okay, so if this is a frame cage, okay, can this ever be 19 is the question. So if this is 19, this could be 16 at least. If this is 19, this is 16 at least. So this is 19 at least, 16 at least. That's 35. Plus 5 is 40. Plus 1 is 41. So these two digits would have to add up to 4. But that's not allowed. Because we already have a 1 in the column. And the only way to add up to 4 with 2 unique digits is 1 and 3. And if we tried to make this instead of a framed cage, a suspect cage, this is 17, this is 19, that would be 36, plus 5 is 41, plus 1 is 42. So the remaining 2 digits would have to add up to 3 without a 1, and that's not possible. So this cannot be an innocent cage. It has to be, then, a framed cage. So this must be yellow, which means this has to be a suspect cage, which means this has to be 8 and 9. This has to be 2, 3, and 6 to add up to 11. So this cannot be 2 or 3 because we can't have a 1 or a 5 here. Therefore, this is a 4. And this has to be 7. Oh, let's not do that too quickly. Okay. These were open. Actually, let's just, I guess we can do those quickly. Whatever. 7. So these two are the same, or are the same stage. These two are the same stage. Okay. If this is innocent, it has to be 7 or less. So if this is innocence, it's 7 or less. Both of these could be killer, though. If it's innocent, it's 7 or less, which means that it's 1, 6, 2, 5, 3, 4 at most, it's 1, 6, 2, 5, or 3, 4. Can't be 2, 5. So it has to have one of the digits of 1 through 3. Then can this actually be a killer cage? No, because one of 1, 2, or 3 is here. Can it be a suspect cage, which would be 1 away, which would make this 1, 2, and 4? No, because then this would be minimum 3 and 6, which does not add up to 7. Or less. If this is a frame cage, this would have to be add up to 8, so it's 1, 3, and 4. And that would make this 2 and 6 at most, which is 8, which is not an innocent cage. So this can never be an innocent cage. It could be a killer cage, a frame cage, or a suspect cage. So this is either adds up to 17, 16, or 15. So either way, it has to be 6 through 9 here. This could be a killer cage. This has to be 1 through 4. This is 1 through 4. Can this ever be an innocent cage then? No, I don't think it can, right? Because if it were... Yeah, it would have to add up to 16, which is not possible with just 2, 3, and 4. So this is 6 through 9, which is next to 5 through 9. Consecutive with 5 through 9. These two came at the same time. That's interesting. This cannot be the framed cage, which is 2 away, right? Because it would be 24, and therefore it would be 7, 8, or 9. So this specifically has to be the innocent cage. This must be the frame cage, which makes this 7, 8, 9, and this 1, 5, and 6. This can no longer be, this can be at most 5 and 6. So this is never a killer cage. This cannot be innocent. This could be killer. It could be framed or suspect. We don't know on this one. This one is a suspect, so 7, 8, 9. The 1 has to be here. So this cannot be 1 here. If it's a killer cage, it's 1, 2, 3. If it's a suspect cage, it's 1, 2, 4. If it's a frame cage, it's 1, 3, 4. So each of these could be 2, 3, or 4 here. That means this has to contain a 5 and a 6 here. And then we have 1 of 2, 3, or 4 here. So 6 cannot be here. Therefore, one of these must be 7 or 8 here. It's either 7, 8, or 8, 9. Either way, 8 has to be here, which means 8 cannot be here, which means this has to contain an 8. So it can never be 6 here. It's either 7, 8, or it's 8, 9. which means this is either a killer cage or a frame cage. It can never be a suspect cage. So it cannot be a suspect cage. Can this ever be innocent? No. Because then it would have to be... This has to contain one of 5 or 6. And it has to... so therefore the minimum here would be 2 and 5, which would add up to 7, which is not 10 away from 12. So this is either a frame cage or a suspect cage, because it can never be a killer cage. This has to contain... This cannot be 5 or 6 here. Can't be 1. Can't contain an 8. So it's 2, 3, 4 with 7 or 9 here. Okay, so this cannot be 5 because this can't be... This has to be consecutive with 7, 8, or 9. If this is a suspect cage, it's 5, 6. If it's a frame cage, it's 4, 6. So this cannot be 6, but it could be any of 2 through 5. Can this ever be an innocent cage? I don't know. Maybe? Yeah, it could be. 2, 3, 4. It could be 2, 3, 4, 8, and 9 at most. What would that be? That would be 2, 3, 4 plus 8 plus 9. That would be 26. So that would be an innocent cage. So it's either an innocent cage with this being 8 and this being 9 here, or it's a killer. It cannot be a killer cage because it can be 2, 3, 4, 7. So this is either an innocent cage, in which case it adds up to 26, with 2, 3, 4, which adds up to 9, plus 9, which is 18, plus 8, which is 26. Or it's 2, 3, 4, 7, and 1, which means it would be a framed cage? No, suspect cage. And this would be 1. It cannot be any other combination because it can't be 2 away, because it would have to have 2, 3, 4, 7 with 2 to add to 2 away, or 2, 3, 4, 9 with 0 to add a 2 away, which is not possible for either of those. Interesting. Okay, say this was the orange. This was the suspect cage, which is 1 away from. That would mean this is 1, and you have 2, 3, 4, and 7 to add up to 17, which is 1 away from 16. Therefore, this cannot be 1 away. It would be the frame cage, which makes this 4 and 6. This would have to be 8 and 9, and the killer. This, but then we would run into problems, right? This would have to be 4 and 6. Okay, so I think... Okay. Right, so if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, that makes this 8, 9, which is a killer. So this cannot be killer. So it cannot be 1, 2, and 3. But the problem is, this being essentially a suspect cage, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 means this can't be a suspect cage, so it must be a frame cage, which would be 4 and 6, which would make this 4, 5, and 6. Therefore, this would be 1, 2, and 3, and this would be 8 and 9, and they would both be the killer cage, so that's not allowed. So this has to be the innocent cage, which makes this 8. That makes this 9, which makes that 8. This can't be 8 or 9. This is 6 or 7. This 8 has to be with 9. So this can't be 9. This is 7 and 8. So this is innocent. This is a framed cage. And not, so this cannot be a framed cage. This still could be either here. So this is either a suspect cage, which is 1, 2, 4, which would be 1 away from 6. Or it's an innocent cage. Sorry, no, killer cage, which is 1, 2, 3. Either way, the 2 cannot be here. Sorry, the 2 has to be in one of these 3 cells, either way. So this cannot be 2, and this cannot be 2. 6 and 7 could still be here with 7 and 8. This can't be 7 anymore, because this is 6 and 9, which forces this to be 7 and 8 here. This 18 cannot be a killer cage. This cage can never be an innocent cage. Okay, so this is the fully this is the fully unlocked, right? This cage was fully unlocked in this stage, and this cage was fully unlocked. This can never be killer. It could be a suspect or framed or innocent. Wait, it cannot be framed. It's only suspect or innocent, right? If it's framed, it would have to add up to 16, which 7 already defeats, right? Because the only 2 digits which add up to 16 are 7 and 9. This could be a killer cage. 7 and 9 works. It could be a suspect cage. 7 and 8 works. In fact, 8 actually has to be one of the 3 digits here. Because we have an 8 here and 8 here, right? That's interesting. Okay. So this could be a killer cage. It could be a suspect cage. It cannot be a frame cage, right? Because if this is a frame cage, it would have to add up to 14, and that would require 7 and 7, so that's not allowed. It cannot be an innocent cage, because the least this can add up to is 7 plus 1, which is 8, which is not 10 away from 16. So this is a killer cage, or it's a suspect cage. So this is specifically then 8 or 9 here. And we know that 8 has to be here. If this is a suspect cage, that means this is 7 and 8, which forces... Okay, so say this was a suspect cage. If this is a suspect cage, it would have to be 8 and 9. But that would eliminate all possibilities for this cell. So this can never be the suspect cage. This has to be innocent, which means it's at least 10 away from 18. So that means it's at most 8. So this is 1 through 6 here. We need an 8 here, but if we had an 8 here with the innocent cage, it would not work. Right? So this is 1 through 6 at most to add up to 8, because it can't have a 7. 8 doesn't work here, so this must be an 8. So this is an 8, which means this is a suspect cage. These two add up together, and okay, so this is not an innocent cage because it's specifically 3, 4, 5. It can't be, and that can't be 10 away from 7. It's not a killer cage and it's not a suspect cage. It has to be a framed cage here. So this is yellow, which means this cannot be framed. It could be killer, it could be a suspect, or it could be innocent. We're not sure. If it's innocent, it would have to be 3. Okay, so it can't be innocent then. It's specifically killer, or it's a frame, or it's a suspect. This has to be 5. So this is 5. That makes this 4 and 6, which means this is a frame cage also. So this has to be the killer. So this has to be 1, 2, 3, which makes this a 4. These can't be 4. This can't be killer then, which makes this... That's kind of weird though, that you find out the killer so early. Usually, like, usually they like leaving the suspense, like, there. But I guess not in this case. So this has to be a framed cage, where the sum of the digits it must be 2 away. Right, because it can no longer be killer because we only have 1 killer cage in the entire grid. So this must be then 11, which would make this 4, 5. This must be innocent. This cannot be 5 here. Oh, wait, no, this is 12. Right, because it's a suspect cage. It's not, cannot be a frame cage. So this has to be 5 and 7, which makes this 8 and 7 there. Okay, this is, well, we know it can no longer be killer. This can't be killer either. It could be innocent, suspect, or framed. This requires a 7, though. So 7 has to be here. 5 has to be one of these 3. If it's innocent, 10 away from 10 is 20. This can never be innocent because it would be either... If it's innocent, it would have to be 25 or 5, and neither of those can be added to, can be gained from 3 digits, right? It would be 25 at least, or 5 at most, and none of those work. So this is not a killer cage. It has to be either a suspect or a frame cage, which means it's either... This adds up to 8 at most. We still don't know what that is then. This cannot have... I mean, it could be 7... Oh, it has to have a 7 and a 9. So therefore, this must be 179. Because that's the most it could be, 17, and it has to be a framed cage. So this is a frame cage. This cannot be a frame cage. Can't be a killer cage. It could be innocent or suspect. If it's suspect, it would be 11. But there's no way to add up to 11 with 3 digits without 2, 3, and 6, right? 11, you could get 1, 4, 6. 1, 2, 8. And you can't get 9 either, right? So it could be 9 or 11 here. For 9, you have 1, 2, 6, which requires 2 and 6. 1, 3, 5, which requires 3, or 2, 3, 4, which requires 2 and 3. So that 9 doesn't work. If you try 11, that's 1, 2, 8, which requires 2. 1, 3, 7, which requires 3. 1, 4, 6, which requires 6. And then that's all the 1s possible. So you could have 2, 3, and 6, which obviously doesn't, which requires all 2, 3, and 6. 2, 4, 5, which requires 2. So this cannot be a suspect cage. It has to be an innocent cage. Which means it adds up to at least 20. This has to be 179 and is the frame cage. So this cannot contain a 1. This must contain a 5 here because 5 cannot be here. So this must be a 5 here. This cannot be killer. So that therefore this adds up to 8 at most. So this is 2 or 3 here. This has to be 2, 3, 4, and 6. Cannot be 3 here because then that would be a killer cage, which is not allowed. Cannot be 6 because that's 3 away from the total. So it's either 2 or 4. Therefore, this is a, no matter how it is, it's a suspect cage. Okay, and this is 14. It cannot be a killer cage. It can't be a suspect cage. It's either a frame cage or an innocent cage. This is at least 20. This is 11. This is at least 20. So this is 2 or 4. 6 is one of these two. 20 at least. So this is at least 4, 7, 9, but it could be 5. So for an innocent cage, the sum would have to be either 24 at least or 4 at most, and neither of those work. 24, obviously, you can't have 2 digits adding to 24. And 4, you would require 1 and 3, or 1. If you tried to have a 3 or less, that would be 1 and 2, but 2 and 3 are already taken. So this cannot be innocent. Therefore, it must be a framed cage. And it's 2 away. Well, so it's either 12 or it's 16. This we know is at least 20. So we have if we have 20 plus 11, that's 31. This cannot be 16 then. It has to be 12. Right? 20 plus 11 is 31. Plus 16 would be 47. And that would be with 8 digits in the box. So this has to be 12, which makes this cannot be 3, 9. It could be 5, 7, or it's 4, 8. We're not sure. This has to be 12. This is 20 or more, remember. So this can never be 1. Where is the 1 in the box then? The 1 in the box has to be here. Ooh, interesting. We have 3 cells, and none of them can be killer cells. Well, this adds up to 6. If it's 2 digits, it would be, sorry, if it's innocent, it would be 16. It can't be a killer cage. It must be then a frame cage there. So this is framed, and it's 2 and 6. So that means this has to be 4. This has to be 3. That's 3 in the corner. We celebrate because we're getting close to solving this. This must contain a 9 here. So it's 9 with 4, 8, or 9 with 5, 7. But this can't be 5. And that means this is 21, which is valid. This is framed, so neither of these can be framed. One is innocent and one is suspect. This almost certainly has to be innocent. Because if it's a suspect, it's 22 digits adding to 23. So this is innocent. Therefore, this must be a suspect. So it must be add up to 22 or 20? Well, can it add up to 22? This is 1. If it's 22, this would be have to include, if this is 20, right, so say this is 22. That means these three to just add up to 21, which would only be 489, which is eliminated by the 8 in the column. 579, which is eliminated by the 7 in the column, or 678, which is eliminated by 7 and 8 in the column. So this cannot add up to 22. It must add up to 20. So these three digits then add up to 19. Without a 7 or 8, it has to be 4, 6, and 9 here. So this is 4, 6, and 9. This is just less than 14, or 14 or less. So it could be any combination. This is 4, 6, and 9, which means this can't be 9. This can't be 9 here. This can't be 6. So this is 1, 2, 3, 5. This can't be 3 or 5 here. So this is 1 or 2. This can't be 1 because of the 1, 7, 9 triplet in the row. This can't be 1. This can't be... Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 as possibilities in box 2. These can't be 3. These can't be 1. These can't be 2 and 6 or 4. So this is 1 or 3 here. This can't be 1 here because of this 1. This has to be 1 or 3 here. This could be any combination. Obviously cannot have 4, 6, or 9. But it just has to be 14 or less. So it cannot have 8 and 7 specifically, but it couldn't have that anyways here. This is 4. Um, 14 or less. This cannot be 8 here. The remaining digits here are 2 through 6. The remaining digits in row 1 are 1, 2, 4, 6, 9. This can't be 4. This can't be 4. 8 has to be one of these 3 cells. 5 is one of those 3 cells. One cannot be here. This can't be 4, so this must be 6, which makes this a 4. There we go. Okay. We have 4 digits. Can you ever add up to 19? This is at can never have a 9, a 6, cannot have a 7, 8, or 9 in any of these cells. So that means at most it's 3, 4, 5, and 6 added together, which is 18. So this cannot be innocent. It therefore must be either a suspect or a framed. Well, that either way it requires a 1, right? If it's a suspect, it adds up to 10, and it would have to be 1, 2, 3, 4. If it's a framed, it would have to add up to 11, which is 1, 2, 3, 5. So this is 1. This is 3. You can never have a 6 here. So this is 2, 3, and 4, or 2, 3, and 5. We're not sure which. Therefore, 2 and 3 cannot be in the rest of the row. This can't be 1. One of these has to be a 6, which means this cannot be 6 here. This cannot be an innocent cage, so it's also framed or suspect because it can't be killer. So therefore, it's 1 through 5 here. It cannot be 3. It's 1, 2. Cannot be 4. It's 1, 2, or 5 here. Okay. Question is, can this ever be 19? Well, it cannot have 7 and 9 in this cage here. This can't be 5 because it can't be killer. And it can't be an innocent, so it's either... can this ever be innocent? Is this innocent? It cannot have a 7 and 9 in it, so it can have at most a 5 and a 9. And then the next one would be 3. 3, 5, and 9 only add up to 17, so this cannot be innocent either. So this also has to be a suspect or a framed. Hmm. This is suspect or framed, so this is 3, 4, 6, or 7. Cannot be 4 though, so it's 3, 6, or oops. It's 3, 6, or 7 here. This is less than 14, but that's still quite a bit of stuff. 3 cannot be here, so 3 is one of these two. This must add up to either 10 or 11 here. With 3 digits. So either way, 9 cannot be here. 10 or 11. It cannot be 1, 2, 7. Can't be 1, 2, 8 to add up to 11. So 1, 2 is out. It could... no 6s, no 4s. 2, 3, 7 doesn't work. So I don't think it can contain... Well, it can't contain a 9 because this is 11 at most. 1, 2, 8 doesn't work. 1, 3, 7 doesn't work because that would eliminate two possibilities from this 1, 7, 9, 7, 9 pair. And therefore they would both have to be 9. Actually, what does it require? It requires a 5. So this always has a 5. And to add up to 10, it would have to be 2 and 3. To add up to 11, can it ever add up to 11? 5, 1, 5 doesn't work. 5, 2, 4 doesn't work because we already have a 4. So this has to be 10, which makes this a suspect cage. So this is 2, 3, 5. Which means this can't be 2, 3, or 5. So this is a 1. This can't be 1. This is 7 or 9. These can't be 1. This is 2, 3, or 5 here. Therefore, this cannot be a suspect. It must be a framed. So this is 3 or 7. Well, this has to be... Wait. This doesn't have to be a 3 here. I don't know why I did that. Oh, this is 3, so this can't be 3. Right, so this has to be a 3 here. Right, because of the 1, 2, 5 triplet in column 7. So this is a 3, which means this cannot be 3. This does have to be a 3 here. Well, where are the 3 and the 7 in column 9? They can only be in these two cells. So this is 3 or 7. These were opened at the same time. It cannot be a killer cage. And it requires a 6. So because they both require a 6, and it can't be a killer cage, it has to be 5 and 6. So it's a suspect cage. So this is a suspect cage. This cannot be a killer cage or suspect cage. It's either innocent or it's a framed cage. This 5 and 6 means this can't be 5 and 6 in the rest of the row. So this must be 2. That's too many stuff. This is a suspect cage because it's 1 away. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And that one matches that one, if I remember correctly. It's hard to tell. That means this is not a suspect. It's a framed cage. So this is not 2. It's 1 or 5 here. We have a 1, 5, 6 triplet in column 9, which eliminates 1, 5, and 6 from the rest of the column. So this can't be 1. This actually we know is a 2, as we said, because it can't be 5. So this is 2, which means these two are the same stage. This can't be 2. This is not 3 or 4. This can't be then. This can't be 2. This has to be 1. This has to be 9. This has to be 2. This is 9. This can't be 1, 2, or 9, so this is 4. These can't be 4 here. So this is either innocent or it's framed. This is 1, 4, or 9. So that means this is innocent because it adds up to 14, which is more than 10 away from 10 or more away from the total. So it's 25. This cannot be 10 or more away from the total. So it has to be either framed or suspect. If it's framed, it could be 1 and 2 to add up to 3. Can it ever be 5? I don't think so, right? Because either way, 8 cannot be here. So 8 has to be here. So this is 8, which means this can't be 8. This has to be 5 and 7. That makes this a 3, which makes that a 7. It's 3 in the corner. We celebrate because we know we're getting close to the end. It cannot be 6 because we can't have a 4, and we can't have 1 and 5 because that would eliminate all possibilities for that cell here. This can't be 5 or 7. This can't be 5 or 7. So this must be 4, 8, 9. This 7 means this can't be 7, so this is 8, which makes that a 7. This can't be 8. What do we have here? It's either, again, so it cannot be 6, it cannot be 2, so this cannot be framed. It has to be suspect. And I think it has to have a 2, which means it has to be 1 and 2 specifically. Which means this can't be 1, so this is 2, this is 1, this is 5. So neither of these can be 2. One has to be one of these cells. If it were framed, it could be 15. Or it has to be less than 15. Oh, cannot contain 2 or 3. Well, or 5. So this is at minimum 1, 4, and 6. Which would be 11, which is not innocent. And it's not a framed or suspect cage. But either way, it cannot get to innocent. So this has to be a framed cage. So it's 2 away from 17. 1 can never be part of 19. So that means it has to be 15 here. So the 2 remaining digits have to add up to what? 15. 14, sorry. So it has to be 1, 6, and 8. Because we can't have a 5 here, right? Because it can't be 1, 5, 9. So it must be 1, 6, 8. So this is 1 and 6. This has to be 8. Which makes this 7 or 9 here. This can't be 8. We have a 7, 9, 7, 9 pair in column 1, which eliminates 7 and 9 in the rest of the column. So this becomes 1. This is 6. This is 1. This 6 means this can't be 6, so this is 2. This is 6. This is 3. This is 2. This has to be an 8 because that's the only place for it. This can't be 6, so this is 2, 5, 3, 2. This can't be 3 or 6, 2, so this is 6, which makes that a 3. This can't be... Oh, we have a 5 and a 5. That's not good. Uh-oh. Did I mess something up? Maybe I messed something up. Well, this has to be 2. This is 6. This can't be 6, so this is 3. This is 5. This is 2. This is 3. This can't be 6. Huh. I must have messed something up. Um, Maybe? I don't know. 5, 6, 1. No, I guess I didn't. This is 6 and this is 5. This cannot be more than... So this has to be a framed, which makes this a 6, which makes this 2. This 6 means this is a 9, which makes that a 6. This 2 makes this a 3, which makes that 2. This 3 makes that a 4, which makes that 3. This can't be 4, so this is 9. So none of these can be 9. This can't be 9. This is a suspect. If this were innocent, it would be 1 or 21, which is not allowed. And this is a frame, so this has to be suspect, which means it's either 10 or 12. Either way, it requires a 7. So this is 7. But it can't be 3. I don't know if I messed this part up. I feel like this part was messed up somehow. Hmm. Yeah, we're gonna have to go back a lot. This is kind of messy to if you mess up. Yeah, we got that right. Um, Again, this cannot be innocent. So this is either a suspect or a frame, and either way, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 3, 5. And therefore, that's a 1. Oh, it could be 512. It doesn't have to be 523. That's what it is. Okay. That's where I made the mistake. Bad assumption on my part there. It doesn't, it could be 512 also, because it could add up to 8. Right. So this either way, this is 512 or 523, and either way, it's still an orange. So this is orange, which means this can't be orange. I think those were the ones that were in the same ones, right? Or maybe it was 5. Um, it was the 5 with it. So this still has to be orange. Because it's 125, I forgot, or 235. So either way, the 2 cannot be here. This is 1 or 3. This is 1 or 3, which forces this to be 7 or 9. 5 has to be there. This can't be 1. This is orange either way, which forces this to be not orange, which means it's yellow. So it's a framed one, which makes this 3 or 7. The only places this can't be 3. Therefore, this must be a 3 here, because this can't be 3 here. We have a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 5 triplet. So therefore, that can't be. This has to be a 3. This becomes a 3, 7 pair here. Right, we got this. This cannot be killer, so this has to be a suspect. And it's 5 and 6. So that forces this to be 2. This has to be 1. The rest is 4 and 9. So this is still the same. This is 2 and 9. This can't be 1, so this is 5, which means this can't be 5. This then must be innocent, because it's 10 or more away. This can't be 2. This is 3 or 4, which means this has to be 2 and 6. This has to be a suspect, so it's not framed. Since this is a suspect, that means this cannot be suspect, so it's 1, 5, and 6. This is 4. If we had an 8 with it, it cannot get to 14. Because it can't contain 6, 9. Can't have a 7, because the 7 has to be one of these two. And this would be at most 8 and 5. So this cannot be innocent. It has to be suspect or framed. Well, that means it adds up to 2 or 6, but it can't be either 2 or 6. 2, obviously, because two unique digits can never add up to 2. 6, it would have to be 1, 5 or 2, 4, and if it's 1, 5, it eliminates all possibilities for that cell. So this has to be then suspect, and it cannot contain 8. Ugh. So this must be 8, which makes this 5 and 7. Therefore, this is 3, this is 7. That's 3 in the corner. We do celebrate because we know we're getting close, actually. And this has to be 1 and 2 and 1. Because 2 and 5 add up to 7, which is not any type of cage. So this is 2 here. And this is 1, which makes that 6, 5, 6, 1, 5. This can't be 5 here. This can't be 5 here. This can't be 5 here. So where's the 5 in column 3? It must be here. So this is a 5. This can't be 3. This can't be 1. So one of these is 2. This has to be 6 because it cannot be an innocent, cannot be 2 because that doesn't fit any of the cages. So this is 6, this is 2. This is a framed cage, so this cannot be framed. It cannot be killer. It could be, it can't be innocent because that would be 1 or 11 with 2 digits adding up to it, which is not possible. So it must be framed. This is 7. This can't be 7 here. This can't be 2, so this makes this 3, which makes that 2. This 6 makes that not a 6, so that's a 9. That's a 6. This can't be 9. This becomes a 4-8 pair, which forces this to be 9. This can't be 9. This cannot be innocent. Because it's either... If it's innocent, it's 7... It would be... It came with this one, I think. So if it's it, this would be then... Can't be 7. This is 8, 7. This can't be 3, so this is 4. This is 3. This can't be innocent here. Because it would have to be either 7 or less, which would be either 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 4, which would eliminate all possibilities for these cells. Or this cell specifically. Or it's 27, which 3 unique digits cannot add up to. They can only add up to 24. And it's paired with this one. So this was suspect, so this has to be framed. This is suspect. It has to have a 7. Cannot be 5, 7. So it has to be 1 away, which makes it 3, 7. So this is 3, 7, which forces this to be 2 and this to be 1. This can't be 2 anymore. This can't be 2 anymore. Where is the 2? In column 4, it has to be here. This can't be 3, so that makes this 6, which makes that 3. This can't be 6, so this is 4, which makes that an 8, which makes that 4. None of these could be 4. This is 3 or 7. This can't be 3, though, so it has to be 7, which makes this 3. This has to be 6 or 8 here. And this is 6, 8, or 9 here. This 7 means this can't be 7 here. Cannot be 7 here. This can't be 1, so this must be 3, which means this can't be 3 here. This must add up to 15 or 19. Well, if it tried to add up to 15, it couldn't, because you can't have 1, 2, 3, and 5. So it's at least 4, 6, and 8, which is 18. So it has to be 4, 6, and 9. So this cannot be 8. This is 6. This is 8. This is 4, 9. This can't be 4 because of that 4. So this is 9, which makes that 4. This is 6, which means this can't be 6. So this is 2, which makes that 6. This 2 means that's a 1, which makes that 2. This can't be 1. So that's 9, 7, 1, which makes that 9. This can't be 8 or 9, so this is 7, and therefore this is an 8. This can't be 6 because of that 6, so this is 9, which makes that 6. Oh, that was rough. Well done, detective. You correctly identified the killer. Yeah, but I made kind of a bad mistake here. I mean, I guess considering there's so many clues here, or so many cages, making one mistake isn't too bad. It's kind of hard to see everything though. I don't know if coloring makes the most sense, right? Because it's hard to see these cages and seeing the differentiation between the cages. Like, even though he did color them different colors, it's still really hard to see in these. And then I added coloring too, which makes it even worse, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how to do a better job without the coloring. Because the coloring gives you a visual representation of things as you can remember, right? Anyways, yeah, this was definitely pretty difficult. but it was still quite satisfying trying to figure things out. Um, aside from that one mistake, I think, which actually led me down a wrong path, um, which I had to back up for anyways, because I was like, this doesn't work. So, yeah. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this solve, and I'll see you next time on Frank Puzzles. Take care.